All right, what's going on there, folks? Good evening. It's Earthmaster here on the live stream with an update video on this beautiful Friday night, party night. July 1st, 2022 is the date. July, the dreaded month of July. It's hot out here in California in July. What do we got? Latest quake shows a 1.9 earthquake here up into the region of Alaska. We have seen quite the earthquake uptick around Iran and areas around the Pacific Plate here, including a 5.8 off the coast of Japan. I want to jump right into it, but first I want to give you guys a heads up. We surpassed 75,000 subscribers here. Look for the update video real soon on an entry into the 75,000 subscriber giveaway. We'll be doing that this weekend, so make sure you guys subscribe to this channel, put your notifications on so you can be updated when we put out that 75,000 subscriber giveaway entry video. Be coming up this weekend. Earthquake activity, looking at quite a bit here throughout the Iran area. This originally came in, a couple of these earthquakes originally came in as a 6.2. USGS reporting 6.0, a 5.7, and a 6.0. Is there really any main shaker right now? All depends on how you look at it. A lot of folks would think, if this activity dies out, well, this was the main quake here, the last one. And then again, if we see a bigger earthquake, they could say this is all four quakes. So however you want to look at it, activity has been ramping up here pretty significantly here in the Iran area. Some of this earthquake activity being felt across the strait here into the Dubai area, all over the place. Latest quake here, we'll go ahead and check out some specifics here in this area. 6.0. 10-kilometer depth, very shallow earthquake. Again, this activity was felt across the region over here in this area of the world. Not a huge populated density in this where the epicenter struck, but definitely shaking things up throughout the area here around Iran. This all comes after quite a few earthquakes basically within this area within the last couple weeks or so. Look at this swarming activity. So a lot of people, even the USGS says that these earthquake swarms do not necessarily mean that there's something bigger coming up. The swarms they come and go, and they do. They do kind of come and go, but they could always be pointing to something much larger in the area, and that's kind of what we've been watching here. Definitely we've been watching this area pretty closely. A bunch of 4s and 5s in the mix here. This activity that struck today only about 40-50 miles away from this swarming area over the past month or so. Now, could we be looking at something bigger occurring in this area? Absolutely. Historical data shows that there is quite a bit of larger scale activity here, quite a few 7s and even an 8 or so within this area, the Gulf of Oman area. Quite the dynamic here in the plate tectonic world. Let me show you guys just some of the historical data in this region. This activity goes back to about, let's see if we can bring this up here. Hold on a second. Quite a few 5s, quite a few 4s, even some 6s to 7s out here all across Iran. Of course, over here a little bit further, we've seen the 8-pointer. It's been a little while. I think 1945 is when that 8-pointer struck over here, 8.1. But historical activity definitely shows quite a bit of numerous earthquakes within this region. So this is not out of the ordinary. But when we see swarms, when we see multiple 6s, it could be telling us, hey, you know what? Something's definitely building that's much stronger. We've seen it in Japan in past. We've seen it in Chile area, major subduction zones. So just always be on the guard whenever we see this type of event. Swarms and a bunch of 6s. So EMSC, let me show you guys real quick, see what these guys are reporting here in the region. Let's go ahead and zoom into the Euro-Mediterranean map. And these guys here are still reporting, it looks like a 6.2. So these guys are staying with a 6.2, the last earthquake there around the Iran area, southern Iran, compared to the USGS 6-pointer. And of course, we've seen a 5.7, and then also within the same area, the other 6.1. So a little bit of difference in terms of the magnitude of earthquakes here within the region. Again, originally these came in 6.2 magnitudes for a couple of them. So either way, I'd say it's very active, right? Very active in this area. But got to remember here, a lot of westward pressure pushing into this area. A lot of movement up here from the south as well, kind of creating that region of pressure, which we've been looking at here in the last couple weeks, considering that swarm. So almost immediately following all this activity in Iran, we've seen an earthquake strike over here in Japan. This originally came in, I think, as a 6.1. Looks like it has been downgraded a little bit to a 5.9, but this is very deep into areas that looks like the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. And this area has been very quiet in terms of large-scale movement. Yes, we see a couple 4s here and there. We did have some 6s here in the Japan Trench over the past couple months. But this specific trench area has been building pressure for quite a while now. And these deeper earthquakes down dip, downstream, only applying further strain along this area, similar to the Cascadia subduction zone. But I believe this area has a higher slip rate accumulation than the Cascadia. So we got to watch this area pretty closely for some larger scale movement. But that activity in Japan occurring it seemed like just moments after the activity we seen in Iran earlier. So we are still seeing some movement up here in the Aleutian Islands, lighting up with quite a few 3s and some 2s. Part of the Pacific Plate. Pacific Plate is a huge plate system. Immediately following this 5.9 there in Japan, I noticed on the live seismograph stations here around Petrolia and areas up here around Mount St. Helens, a blip. A little blip in the adjustment here along the eastern portion of the Pacific Plate. It just kind of goes to show you how these earthquakes over here can have an effect thousands of miles away, not only on the same plate boundary, but also adjacent plates. And that's kind of what we've seen today following that 5.9. Just a couple, just some very small earthquake adjustment at Petrolia and the Mount St. Helens station. I'm sure many more along the western coast at the same time. As far as activity going along the west coast, there's been a couple small earthquakes listed here on the map near Temecula, 1.2. This one's pretty deep, 29 kilometers for a pretty deep earthquake here along the Elsinore fault system. Right around the San Andreas fault, looking pretty quiet for now, but that's not going to be the case in the future. Who knows when that will go? All I know is 300 and something years has been building up on this southern segment, and it's capable of producing at least an 8.1 earthquake. An earthquake of that magnitude definitely do some significant damage to the Southern California region. And of course, it's super populated, folks, let me tell you. Eastern Sierra Nevada, aside from some older earthquake activity this morning, most of this is older movement. Nothing within the last hour. Western Nevada, portions of Western Nevada, right around the Tonopah area and Mina, all seeing some microquake activity. Northern California, of course, we got the Cobb Mountain earthquake activity. Hydrothermal man-made earthquakes. I said it. That's a fact. Go check out Calpine Energy Solutions. If you don't believe me, it's a pretty large hydrothermal operation field out there that injects raw sewage down below to create energy, man. Humans. Pacific Northwest, relatively quiet up through the Intermountain West regions as well. Texas did get some activity following that movement in Iran. A little bit of activity, it looks like. Looks like at least 3 of them on the 7/2, July 2nd UTC date. Couple 3, 1 3 at least, and a couple 2s right around the Pecos, Texas area. North American plate still quite a bit under some strain out here. This whole area, I believe, North American plate and the Pacific plate, definitely been showing some signs of increasing pressure throughout the whole region. Puerto Rico area looking pretty quiet right now. There's 15 earthquakes. That's a little bit below average on any typical day. Normally we see swarming here in this area of Puerto Rico, and that's looking like it's happening, but not on a large scale. Quite a few 2s and 3s in that area. South America, a couple 4s down there, it looks like 4.2 near the Chile and Bolivia area. Looks like right around the border. Most of these earthquakes here pretty deep though into the Peru-Chile Trench. 182 kilometers for the deepest one near Peru. Some back building up here south of Samoa. Let me see when this struck here. This struck at 7-1. Hold on a second here. Let me bring this up. It struck at 7-1-23. So that was, looks like that was just before the activity, moments bore the activity in Iran. A lot of pressure, folks, if you think about it on a large scale map, okay? Yes, imagine walking or swimming from California to Hawaii, or even California down to Baja California region. It's considerable distance for us humans. But on a plate tectonic scale, it's not that big of a deal. These are some major plates just kind of floating along, right? You get some major adjustment buildup going on here. And it doesn't take a lot to realize how this is kind of like a cracked eggshell, if you will. These little pieces moving around. These are kind of little pieces. And they all kind of work their way to the west, at least from this direction. You got the spreading center here along the Atlantic Ocean, North American plate. I'm not going to go into all the directions tonight, but for the most part, west-northwestward movement here. There was some big-time pressure building up here to be here on the back end along the Pacific plate. The Tonga Trench here, normally we see all this activity kind of way deep down there, but this one here kicked up prior to that, prior to the subduction zone in the Pacific plate area. It takes a lot of strain and pressure for that to happen in that region. And then moments later, we've seen a little bit of release, build up a pressure within this region. It kind of follows a trend here around this plate boundary in this area. And then we've seen a couple 6s pop off there around Iran. Some further back building of pressure up here along the Japan Trench with that deeper earthquake activity. So in this aspect, I still think we need to watch the Kermadec Trench areas pretty closely, and the Kermadec Trench, or the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench up here north of the Japan Trench, considering that deep earthquake movement we've seen almost moments following the Iran earthquake activity. So either way, it's been super active, folks. Been trying to keep up with it. We were going to go over some seismographs tonight and take a look at what they all mean, harmonic tremor, if it's a local earthquake or a distant earthquake. I'm going to do that on a different night. We'll try to do it tomorrow, Saturday night. Just got my hands full right now with a lot of stuff going on, and we'll definitely work that into the schedule here tomorrow for sure. Got a lot of schoolwork I got to catch up on as well. Schoolwork, that's going to be quite a few quizzes. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let's go back to the all magnitudes. Charleston area, or at least over here around South Carolina, most of this activity earlier and well before the Iran earthquake activity. A couple small microquakes here around the Elgin area of South Carolina. Yellowstone National Park tonight. Let's go ahead and see what we got. There's some of those. It's going to be some of the waves kicking up here from the earthquakes in Iran. There's at least one of them. It looks like there may have been a couple more registered there. Then again, I think possibly one of these may be the Japan quake. Pretty deep activity along the western portion of the Pacific plate. That could be the Japan quake right there. But far as local seismic activity, any type of changes to Yellowstone right now, following all this large-scale activity, not a whole lot. Things look pretty calm for the most part. I do want to check out the tremor map here along the Cascadia. And wow, look at that. That's a pretty broad area of tremor up and down the board. Not a significant number at all, only 60 epicenters. But it's a pretty large area that's showing some movement up through the Vancouver Island ranges down through Oregon and into Northern California at the very southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. And looks like it's pretty consistent throughout the day. Let's go ahead and check out Mount St. Helens here. See what they got. Looks like they're listing one earthquake today at 0.1. But we'll see what we got here on the recorded seismograph stations. And look at those wavy lines. You guys see that? It's going to be the distant earthquakes that we've seen today. Localized activity, maybe a couple small little microquakes, but aside from that, those wavy lines are indicative of some surface waves from the larger earthquakes abroad around the Iran area and Japan. Localized earthquake activity here in a very spiky fashion. Those are going to be very localized and very small to the Mount St. Helens area. Let's see what else we got here. Let's run over the space weather real quick. I didn't want to make this too long of a video. We're looking at 16 minutes, so I'm going to try and keep it under 20. Space weather, not a whole lot going on. Unfortunately, we're not looking at any major events, but look down here. Look at this. KP indexes here popping up out of the blue up into the 4 range. Was that called for? Was it expected? Was it forecasted? Absolutely not. Let's see what we got going on. We did see a noticeable increase in the density kicking up all of a sudden, right? Look at the tilt, the BT-BZ component showing a southern tilt of the interplanetary magnetic field, allowing solar wind stream to flow into the Earth here. Definitely that is the culprit in the activity we're seeing here. Definitely seeing a potential for auroras at the higher latitudes. It's very close to a G1 class storm, but doesn't look like these guys are on top of it. Let me see if space weather is on top of it. I know there's Space Weather Prediction Center, but I do like to check a couple different sites. Nearby CME detected. A CME passed close to Earth on July 1st around 1200 UT. It did not strike our planet's magnetic field directly. Looks like some dense plasma in our direction. The near miss might spark geomagnetic unrest and mild auroras around the poles on July 2nd UTC time. But we're seeing that tonight. We're definitely seeing that tonight. So protons are elevated about 18 or so. Wind speed's not all significant, but then again, all it takes is a little tilt in the field to allow this plasma to flow in and create these auroras. So pretty cool. All right, guys, I'm going to bounce out of here. Again, look for the update video this weekend. It's going to be titled 75,000 subscriber giveaway entry video. And when you see that, I want you guys to read the instructions, watch the video, and follow exactly what I'm saying to do. And we're going to be giving away a drawing here to 6 lucky people. And we'll explain it all in that video. But I'm pretty excited. I'm super happy that we finally hit 75,000 subscribers. It's kind of a big deal. This year, this time last year, we were at 50,000 subscribers. So maybe next year around this time we'll be at 100,000. I'm looking forward to that as well. That's going to be probably a little bit bigger giveaway. But 6 people this go around. Next time we'll do about 10 people or so. And giving out some cool prizes and some merchandise and maybe a shirt or hat or 2. Look for it this weekend, folks. Don't miss it. It will definitely be announced everywhere, and I'll make sure it gets sent out to the subscribers through a notification. So make sure you subscribe though to this channel and click on the notification bell. So, all right, guys, have a good night. Stay safe out there. And again, just be prepared. There's a lot going on, plate tectonically speaking. Looks like another 4.5 in the Iran area. Again, the possibility always exists there with this type of event that we could see something larger in the area. You just never know. It's a toss-up of a dime, a quarter. Heads you win, tails you lose. It It all depends. We'll have to keep a very close eye on this area throughout the night. All right, guys, stay safe. And again, thanks to everyone out there to making this channel successful. We try to provide facts here, not fear-mongering. Try to stick to the facts. And that's kind of what we've always done since about 2007. So we'll continue that throughout the years to come. All right, guys, have a good night. We will chat you a little bit later on. Peace out, everyone.